Episode 20. Hello, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Dogman Encounters Radio. I'm Vic Condiff, and I'll be your host as we listen to eyewitness encounters involving one of the most terrifying cryptids, Dogmen. Our guest tonight is Connie Gwinnup. Connie's here tonight to talk about multiple Dogman encounters that she's had starting in the early 2000s. Connie, welcome to Dogman Encounters Radio. Thanks so much for coming.
Good evening.
For starters, Connie, could you give us a brief bio on yourself?
Well, I'm an old woman that lives out in the country. Let's see, in Iowa to be exact. I just never thought I would see anything like this in Iowa of all places, but I have. I'm newly widowed, and my son is kind of staying with me for right now. I don't know if I will end up moving or selling the place or what later on. I just haven't decided if I can maintain out here alone.
Well, I can understand. For the longest time, I've tried to follow the activity on your property. I know it all started out with Bigfoot activity and your interactions with them, but that transitioned over to including Dogmen too in the early 2000s, from what I understand. Could you tell us about that first encounter that you had?
Well, I had been weaning a horse, a little colt, and I always stayed in the barn with them the first couple of days, so they would bond with me. This colt, I had separated his mom and put her and another couple other mares out back, and some of the geldings and stuff off behind the house, and I got the colt settled down, and I came in to get me something hot to drink, and I have front windows all across my house, and I was sitting there, and I'd left the lights on in the barn, and we have a yard light. I also have a porch light, which is actually two floodlights. I'm sitting there taking a sip of this cocoa, thinking about, well, I better get back out there, when I seen this thing run across the edge of the yard, probably 20 feet from the house, and it ran through the light and then back out into the dark. And I thought maybe I was losing it. It looked like something out of Greek mythology. And I got a pretty good look at it. It looked like a German Shepherd dog that stood up on its back legs, but the legs looked kind of weird. It walked on two legs, but it walked weird. I mean, to me, it just looked weird. But then, when it took off, it ran on all fours, down on all fours, then up on 2 feet, then down on all fours, and up on 2 feet. Bounced back and forth when it took off into the dark. I just couldn't get over it, because it just looked like a dog, but when it ran like that, it looked like that animal that ran like that on Ghostbusters. I don't know, I think it was some kind of demon or something. But anyway, that was my first sighting of it. His hair wasn't real long. It was, only probably 2 or 3 inches long. But it wasn't real thick. It was real sparse. Kind of like he had the mange, actually. I don't know, he just, he had the pointed snout and the ears that stood up. It looked just like a German Shepherd. But the thing I noticed was his front paws or arms or whatever you want to call them, they hung down past his waist, similar to what a Bigfoot does. I mean, they have the long arms that go down close to their knees. This is what this looked like, the front legs. But it did have paws. It didn't have hands or feet. It had big old paws. I thought to myself at the time, man, that thing must be cold, because it was cool out. It was in late September. I thought, well, I better get out there. It was headed towards the barn when it took off into the dark. So I set my Coco down and took off, and I ran outside. And as I was running past the horse trailer, something hit it and pushed the horse trailer up on two wheels. I just kind of pushed off. I was running fast, and I just kind of used the horse trailer and pushed myself off of that, and then on into the barn. I had another 15, 20 feet to go before the barn, and all the horses outside, the females were behind the barn. They were just, I call it screaming when the horses whinny really loud, and anyway, they were really making horrible screaming loud noises, both sets of horses. And I get in there, and the little colt was pretty upset, so I'm trying to calm him down. But before I did that, I flipped on a light that I have on the back of the barn. It's a stadium light, and it takes a little while to light up, but it lights up maybe 5-10 acres out back, and you can see. So I just holding the little colt, and about that time, something hits the side of the barn, and there's wood and splinters and stuff flying all over, and I just stuck my face down in the little colt's neck and held his head down, and then I started praying, and I commanded it in the name of Jesus Christ to leave, because I knew if it was a demon, it had to leave then. And anyway, it would just hit the barn and broke that big, it was probably 3.5 feet by maybe 5 foot hole in the side of the barn. It was really kind of scary there. And then all of a sudden, it just disappeared. And the other horses all settled down, and I got the little colt calmed down and kind of peeked out the big hole in the side of the barn and put I think I put a gate or something up next to it. And that was my first encounter that scared the crap out of me. And I told my husband, I said, boy, I think I seen something out of Greek mythology. He says, what did you see? And I said, well, I seen this, I said it was a dog, like a German Shepherd dog, but it walked upright. And it was really strong because it tried pushing the horse trailer over on me. And he said, it's just hard to tell what you run into out here. He said he had seen some strange things during his lifetime, but he never told anyone about them. Earlier in the week, the dogs were barking and carrying on a lot at night. And then all of a sudden they would just get all quiet and scratch and really want to try to get in the house like they're going to tear down the doors. Earlier in the week we had went for a walk down by the creek, and we had found this coyote. And it was a pretty large coyote to boot, and it was laying there, and Dennis was looking at it, and I wasn't really paying attention to the dead coyote, but Dennis says, hey, come here and look, this coyote don't have no blood. I said, what? And he says, come here and look at that. He took that knife, his pocket knife, and poked that dead coyote, and it didn't bleed. He said, do you see any marks on it anywhere? And we stood there for quite a while, trying to look this dead coyote over to see if we'd find any marks or what had killed it. Because it was just laying there, just dead. And I said, look at those prints. And we started looking at the prints, and there was, let's see, I'm guessing, I have it wrote down somewhere. I think they was like, the prints itself, we laid the cigarette package beside the print, and when we ended up measuring the package, it was like, the print was like 8 and 3/4 long and 8 wide. And it was in this moist sand on the bank, but it wasn't in the soupy sand. It was just the sand was moist. The print was probably 2.5, maybe even a hair more inches deep. I'm no runt, and I wasn't even making a dent in the, you could just see the shoe prints, the top of my shoes. I didn't hardly sit down at all. We were just really amazed, and then Dennis, he was measuring between the prints, and the claws were so big. Ooh, that's the thing that impressed me. I showed the picture to one of the local DNR after that, and he said it was a timber wolf. Those were timber wolf prints. I'm not sure if it was the prints from what I seen or if it was the prints from a timber wolf. I've seen some pretty good sized timber wolves, but none with a foot that big. So I don't know.
Yeah, timber wolves don't get footprints that are 8 inches by 8 inches. That's pretty ludicrous if that's what he was trying to say.
Well, yeah, that's, so I just didn't think any more about it, but then when I seen that, it just, and I went and got on nerve pills. I thought I was losing it. And I kept telling Dennis, I said, I know I seen that with my own 2 eyes. I said, it's what put the hole in the barn. And he went out and looked around the barn, tried to see if he could find any hair or anything, because Jan Carter had taught us how to look for hair and stuff like that with the Sasquatch. Anyway, we never had any more problems there for a while. But that was my first encounter. I just couldn't get over, people talk about them having feet and hands like people, but this one had paws, just big paws.
That sounds like one heck of a first encounter to have with these things. You know, I've got some questions here that I wanted to ask you about that first encounter. First of all, though, I wanted to let you know it's not uncommon for eyewitnesses to report seeing dogmen that look like a German Shepherd that's standing up on its back legs. It's got that German Shepherd-looking head. That's right. That's a pretty common phenomenon there. But I wanted to ask you, Connie, you said that when it moved about on 2 legs, you said that it looked strange. What was it about the way that it moved when it was up on 2 legs that looked so weird?
The legs just didn't look like, they looked like they were put on backwards or something to me. I don't know, like a goat's leg or a horse's leg or something. It just, I don't know, it just didn't look like a normal dog's leg. The knee part, I guess that's what you would call it. That wasn't right. It just looked strange. And I was trying to take it all in and think about it. And when I got out in the barn and after things had settled down and I'd got the colt to settle down, I had drew a picture. Now I suppose now I can't find it. Anyway, I'm no artist at all. Only thing I can draw is flies mainly. And this thing, it had dog feet, paw feet.
Did it have hocks, just like a dog or a horse would?
Is that what you would call that? Hocks. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's a very commonly reported feature on these things.
Yeah, it just didn't look right. I don't know. It just was weird.
That's pretty common. The whole its legs didn't look right thing, that's something that you hear all the time from people that see them.
He had a mangy body. That's what I thought he had. He had a mangy, tannish-colored, dark tan-colored body. He had a body like a man's, only it was stretched out like a third more than a man's, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I follow you.
Between the steps, the different steps that we had found, feet prints out there, They were 36 inches apart.
It must have been walking at that time.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, I'm just trying to read my notes. I've added some notes that I'd talked to Bart Nunley, and he had helped me figure out what it was. I showed him the prints. I was just scared to tell anybody because, it's bad enough to see Bigfoot and admit to it. But to see a Dogman too, they really think you're wacky then.
Yeah, don't feel bad about that. There are a lot of people in the Bigfoot camp that, for some reason, look at people that are Dogman eyewitnesses as being strange or maybe even a little off base. I never will understand that one, but that's how it is, unfortunately.
I've seen a few similarities. To me, their front limbs were longer like the Bigfoots are. Their arms, or whatever you want to call that part, the front ones, the upper ones. But they sure can go up and down real fast from 2 to 4.
That night when you had that encounter, did you find any dead animals the next day? Farm animals?
Not up around the house, I don't think. You always find, well, we had dogs and stuff, so there's things that you just know you just can't always, you think it might be one thing, but then you're not for sure.
Yeah, you see something really strange like that, it's hard to know what to make of it other than trying to get away from it the best you can.
As soon as it left, the horses settled right down, but when it was around, the dogs just darn near tore the front door off the house trying to get in. I mean, they were digging and really trying to, it was weird how they were definitely scared. And I've seen them go hide or get out of sight from a Bigfoot, but never try to tear the door down.
Well, I can't say I'll blame them. The way canine-type dogmen, like the one that you saw that one night, interact with dogs and vice versa is so strange on some occasions that have been reported by what I consider to be very credible eyewitnesses. It would seem like there wasn't all that much fear on the part of the dogs. The dogs were quiet, but they didn't seem to be terrified or anything. And it seems like all that the dogman wanted to do was look at the dogs, and that's about it. But then on other occasions, like what you're talking about, you also hear about situations where the dogs are clearly terrified, and they obviously want to get away any way they can. So that's just another thing to add to the whole hard-to-figure-out pile when it comes to dogmen. Now, having said all that, Connie, I wanted to ask you, you said as you were running past that horse trailer, you saw it come up to the other side of the trailer and try to push it over on you?
It was running towards the trailer as I was running towards the trailer. I was just almost there, and it was probably twice as far away that I was, and it hit it about the time I was even with it. Got even with the trailer, and it come up on, it was a 4-horse trailer, and it come up on 2 wheels.
Wow.
And like I said, I was running, and I just pushed myself off the trailer as it was tipping over and kind of give me an extra push to get on in towards the barn.
Yeah, that's not easy to do at all. That took a lot of strength.
But then I never seen it after that. And I never seen it break the hole in the side of the barn. I turned on the stadium light, I grabbed the little horse, trying to calm him down, and I did not see it. I was inside the barn. The horses outside were carrying on really bad, and then the next thing I knew, something hit the barn and broke that great big hole in the side of the barn.
You were in the barn. You didn't see it knock the hole in the wall of the barn, but you were in the barn when this happened.
Right. All right. I was about 5 foot from the wall of the barn that it hit.
Oh, wow.
I grabbed a hold of the colt to calm him down, and I was hugging him and had him held close to me, and about that time, When it hit, there were splinters and pieces of wood flying all over. Then it was like it just disappeared. It was off and gone. The horses outside quieted down. Nothing more. I'm not sure what he come up to close to the house for, unless it was the little horse. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, it looked pretty rough. It looked like it had the mange or something, because it looked like it should have had more hair than it did. The hair was long, like 2 or 3 inches long, but it was real sparse. It just, I don't know, kind of like just 2 or 3 hairs, maybe in an inch area. And the reason I thought of mange was because I had seen a fox earlier that year that had the mange, and I thought, well, that must be going on around, in the animal kingdom, because it is contagious, I think.
Let me ask you this. How tall was that Dogman that you saw the first time?
Not over 6 foot tall.
A smaller one. Okay. Thank goodness.
And other than that, he just looked like a dog, other than the weird leg.
Uh-huh.
The knees, or whatever you call them, hocks.
Yeah, those hocks that stick out backwards.
Yeah, that stick out backwards. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Boy, you got it down, Pat. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, I've talked to more people that have seen them than I care to recount, so by now that's kind of old school for me. Moving on, Connie, you've got so many encounters that you've had. I want to make sure that we cover them all. Tell us about the second encounter you had.
Oh, that was I think it was in July. The old man and I had gotten an argument. It was on a Saturday afternoon, actually. And I jumped in the Jeep to run down to the creek and pout. I was busy being mad and irritable and feeling sorry for myself. And anyway, I'm sitting down there, and pretty soon here comes the old man, and he gets in the car, and we sit and talk. As we're talking, I see this dog coming down the hill from across the creek. It was a pretty large-sized dog, and it looked like a collie. Anyway, and I'm talking to him and watching this, and it crosses the creek and walks away, it's probably a quarter mile, up to where the car is parked. I seen it, and it had it had real long hair, like 4 or 5 inch long hair, and it was dark black, and it was matted. The hair was matted in places. But what got me was the head of it. It was on all fours, but it stood as tall as the top of the window, because I had my window down. All of a sudden, it just stuck its face in there and licked me on the side of the face. And I went, ah! And I turned around to ask the husband if he had seen it, and I turned back to look, and it was gone.
Now, I know there are who knows how many people sitting at home listening to this story, and I know the question that they're dying, they just want me to ask more than any other question. When it was up next to that window there, did you try to roll that window up before it had a chance to stick its head in and lick you, or what happened there?
No. It just looked like an animal. It was an animal. You don't have to be scared of animals. No, the window was wide open. It was warm. It was in July, and I didn't have the air on, and I didn't try to close the window. I was just amazed at it, because it was like it was, when I was watching it, it was like it was looking up at me and telling me to stay calm, or you have nothing to worry about. Does that make sense? That's just how I felt, like I didn't have anything to worry about.
I've heard that before, so no, that's not an isolated incident. Just like in Bigfoot encounters, sometimes with Bigfoot encounters, the same goes for these things, where people do report that they got these strange feelings, almost as if the Dogman was trying to communicate with them. So, no, that's not that strange.
This was just the feeling that I got, that I didn't have nothing to be fearful of. as I was watching it come towards me. But it was like it wanted me to know that it was there. The old man said that he wasn't paying attention. He had seen something coming across the creek, but he wasn't paying attention. He had been watching something out on the other side of the car or something that he was interested in as we was talking, so that was that. He never went into a whole lot of detail of what he saw. And I told him I said, it licked me. And then I turned around to look at it and it disappeared. And he says, well, maybe you'll have either good luck or maybe you'll end up with rabies. Never had good luck or never had rabies, so both things were wrong.
Well, you could have had worse luck than that if that thing stuck its head in the window. I think that's important to note that if it had its head in the window of the Jeep like that, it could have done whatever it wanted to you.
Oh, I'm sure it could have, but I don't know. I didn't feel threatened in the least little bit. But you explain to me, where did it go? Because 1 minute was there, the next minute was gone. That's the thing that I don't believe in. Poof, you're gone, you know?
Uh-huh.
There's got to be some explanation for that. That really messed with me. Because that tongue that licked me on the face was real tongue.
I wonder if it didn't hide around behind the back of your Jeep when you weren't looking, or if there were woods it could duck into when you looked away.
I just don't know. But I hadn't had my head turned I just turned around to Dennis and I said, "Did you see that?" And he had his head turned the other way, so he had to look at me and he said, "No, what?" "Oh, never mind." So that was that, but it was different.
Oh, I'd say that's pretty strange, but strange and Dogman, those two words seem to go together pretty well. I want to move on to your third encounter, Connie, the one that you told me about that happened on your back deck.
Oh, well, that was a short encounter, but I had gotten up in the middle of the night to get me a drink, and at the side of the house, I keep a yard light to this next to the timber. Woods, I guess that people call it. We call it timber here. And I was getting a drink of water, and I was running the water, and I heard off the deck, we have a ramp. And there's a section in that ramp, I can always tell when anybody's walking on there because it squeaks. And there's just one certain place. And time again, whenever little Sasquatch has tried to look in or something, I've heard that and I've seen him. But this was a shocker because it wasn't a little Sasquatch. It was a dog, a dog man, but his head looked like a chow's head, and he was kind of reddish. And he had the chow head. Fuzzy. Furry. Chowy.
You know, from talking to you before about that encounter, Connie, you told me you made it clear that you thought that as if dogmen weren't strange enough on their own, you mentioned how you thought the fact that this one had a head that looked like a chow dog's head, how you thought that was so strange. There are a lot of dogmen that have been reported as being seen with heads that look like that. There's a picture on the internet that you can dig up called the On-Away photo. It's a photo
Let me write that down.
Yeah, it's called the On-Away photo. For any listeners that want to jot this down and research it too, I'll spell it for you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. It's spelled O-N as in Nancy, A-W-A-Y. On-Away. It's the On-Away photo. And the history behind that photo, if I remember correctly, a family had pulled off the road late at night. I believe it was their son was in the back seat, and he was looking out the back window when they pulled away. Well, when he was watching out that back window as they were pulling away, he says that he saw this creature that was on two legs chasing after that vehicle. He snapped a picture, and when you do that search for the on-away photo, the picture that you see with that two-legged creature with what looks like a creature with a chow's head, that's the picture I'm talking about.
Well, this one, its legs weren't like the first ones I seen legs. Around the knees, hawks, is that what you call it? Yeah. They weren't like that. They were just straight up and down like human legs. And this chow one, it had hands and feet, not paws.
Well, that sounds like you're talking about what's called a Type 3 Dogman.
I don't know what it is, but it seemed real nonchalant. It was right under, it wasn't that far from the house. It just walked down off the deck, and it had been up on the deck and walked down the ramp and right into the yard, underneath the yard light, and it knew that I was there because it looked back and looked at me, standing there in the window, looking at it.
It never showed any aggression towards you?
Nah.
Well, that's good then.
It seemed like it was a really nonchalant, just out checking around tonight.
Thank goodness that's all it was doing. Around your house, you said that you've been having to put up with these things scratching on your screens and doing other things like that, right?
Yeah, sometimes. Well, it was really bad back in July. My husband had passed away in April, mid-April. And my son was gone, and I was here by myself, and I had my daughter-in-law come and stay with me because I was experiencing some weird things. The first time I ever had an encounter with the horse trailer, I was scared to death. It makes you shake inside. I'm not used to being scared like that. This just makes you so ungodly nervous, and stomach tightens up, and just horrible feeling. Anyway, so my daughter-in-law, she came and stayed with me for a month till my son got home, and it was a long month because they would scratch at, this is what her and I were thinking, that they knew there was no males around. We were just the females, and we'd go see the livestock and stuff, during the day. But boy, as soon as it got dark, we shut the doors, pulled the blinds, and locked things up. That's just how it was, and that's what we did for the whole month. But you could sense when it was around, and you could just start shaking, and I don't know, or if it was scratching on the windows, and it was pretty creepy.
When all this was going on, did you ever see a Dogman scratching on your screens?
Nope, I can't say I did. All I can tell you is that with that ungodly feeling is just like the feeling that I had when the one tried to push the horse trailer over on me. Or I get the same kind of feeling when I hear them screaming. That shaky in my stomach and jittery feeling and nervous, scared. I don't know, just something about something in their voice or something. I don't know. It just terrifies me. And I used to I was outside day and night. I always felt like with the Sasquatch, I knew they would back me up. If I had any problems, they'd be there. But this thing is just, I don't know, it's unbelievable. To me, they like to make you fearful. Or they enjoy making you fearful, let's put it that way.
You're not the first person that's come to that conclusion because of the scary things they do. It seems like they do, more than anything else, just want to scare the life out of you.
I've never been too scared of too many things, and I don't know, it just causes, you can just feel the fear just whooshes all over you. That's the only way I know how to explain it. It's nasty.
I know you've got a lot of Sasquatch in the area still. Could you explain how these things and Bigfoot on your property seem to interact?
Well, they don't. It's just like it's an unwritten law that the Sasquatch, or the young ones, they don't go over in the area where the Dogmen are. And I have been told by some people that the Dogmen will kill little Sasquatch, and I've never seen this, I've never heard it. I know one time there was a heck of a fight with something going on out in the cornfield, tore down a whole lot of corn, heard a lot of weird screams and thuds and stuff, but I didn't go out there to investigate, so I don't know if it was two sass fighting or a dog man fighting or what it was. I just can tell you what I've seen. But you hear that howling, and Sasquatch, they can really howl and make some different screams, but this Wolfman howl, it's different. It just makes you have goosebumps from one end to the other. One of my friends had gotten me a bionic ear, and one night I was sitting outside playing with it, and I was trying to figure out how to hook a cassette tape to it so I could record. And about that time I heard one of those Dogmen, and I threw that. it just startled me, and I threw it, and now I don't have a bionic ear anymore.
Oh, no. I can't blame you, though.
But since my son has come to stay with me, nothing seems to be bothering none of the livestock, except over on the next road, one of the farmers, he'd been finding a couple deer with their heads ripped off. But that's the only unusual thing that we've been finding around here lately.
Do you see these things in the wintertime also?
No. You can hear them sometimes, but you never see them. I never have, anyhow. I just don't talk to anybody about it. They all think I'm nuts anyway because I see Sasquatch. So I don't say too much about the Dogmen. But there has been one other thing, but I'm not sure if it was a Dogman or just an oddity. Well, I've seen a couple things in the last few years that I'm not sure what they are. Like the one I'm pretty sure is a Dogman that looks like one of those dogs that lay by the pyramids. They got real pointy ears and a long, narrow snout. I seen one that looked like that, and then I just remembered about the light-colored one I seen. It looked more like a normal, I don't know if they have white wolves around here or not, but I seen one. I think that's what it was, but we live on these Indian burial grounds, and there's a lot of different stories and myths about spirit dogs and stuff like that. So I don't know if I just see this stuff. One granddaughter seen one of the Dogmen, but she won't talk about it. She just said it wasn't a Bigfoot, Grandma. It was scary.
You said that you do have Indian burial mounds close to where you live.
Yeah.
How close?
No, quarter of a mile.
Oh, wow. That's very close. No wonder you see so many Dogmen in your area. For some reason, when Indian burial mounds are in the area, sightings of Dogmen skyrocket.
Really?
That's right. It's a very common phenomenon. That's not to say that if you live close to an Indian burial mound that you're guaranteed to see Dogmen. No, I'm not saying that. But if you live near an Indian burial mound or Indian burial mounds, plural, that just means that for some reason your chances of having a Dogman encounter go up drastically.
It's really strange when most people come to my house and they can they can usually experience something a little strange. Anybody that comes that hangs around for very long. I don't know what they are. I just called it a Dogman because it walked like a man and it was a dog, you know. There was a lot difference between the first one and the German Shepherd looking one and the Chow one, though, because the Chow one was just really kind of all laid back and happy-go-lucky. Seemed really at ease.
I'd be really interested to hear, Connie, once you've had a chance to look at that on-away photo, to hear how what you saw on the back deck that night compared to what you see in that on-away photo. That's something we're going to have to stay in touch on so that when you get a chance to look at that picture, if you could please let me know what you think on how they compared. I'd love to know.
Well, hang on a minute. On-away photo. Okay, let's see what I can come up with here.
All right.
Oh.
I did a search with 3 words, Connie. If you type in on-away, the word photo, and then the word Dogman, the very first picture that pops up is the picture that I'm talking about.
Okay, I'll add Dogman then. Okay, well, tell me what are they doing?
Well, in this picture, all you see is a view out the back window of what looks like maybe a minivan, and then you see this grayish-looking Dogman that looks to be running after it.
Hang on a second. I think I see it.
All right.
Yeah, it does kind of have the body was skinnier. Maybe the head, the ear, yeah. It looked quite a bit like that, I guess.
You're saying that the one that you saw on the back deck had a skinnier body than the one that's in that on-away photo.
Yeah.
But the head was pretty similar then.
Pretty much the same. Okay. So, it looks like a chow.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Definitely. It looks a lot like it. But it was just, I don't know. It was totally different from the other one, though. I wonder where these things come from. At first, I thought they were demons. But then, when you start hearing other people seeing it, it makes you feel better. Like you're not crazy as all get out. But you still like to know where they came from. What are they? You know?
Oh, sure.
They're more elusive than the Bigfoot. They seem to be around here. Because you can always catch a glimpse of a Bigfoot, you know, crossing the field or over by the creek or down by the river or something like that. Where you only see the Dogmen at night. Too. That's why I've never seen one in the broad daylight.
That encounter that you had down by the creek with that collie-looking Dogman, that was after dark?
No, that was in daylight.
Okay.
But that's why I wondered if it was a Dogman or if it was a phantom dog, or because it was black. And well, also on our lower field is where Black Hawk had his last encampment before they decide to civilize him and send him on down the river. I think a lot of this spirits and stuff, residual, I don't know. You watch all these ghost things, and I think maybe some of it has something to do with some of it, but I'm not sure. I can't tell you what a Dogman is. If it is, it looks like a dog. I know the one that licked me felt like a dog's tongue when he licked me on the side of the face. But to see him walk like a guy, a man, a human, you wonder if somebody hadn't mixed with some DNA somewhere, and mixed it all up.
It is really hard to figure, that's for sure. And as far as anyone being able to tell you what a dogman is, anyone that tries to tell you that they can tell you what a dogman is, guaranteed liar, because no one's got the answers on that.
But it would be nice to know, but it's one of those mysteries that you're just going to have to hopefully live long enough till they find out what the outcome is.
I'd say so. Well, Connie, do you have any closing points you'd like to make?
I think dogmen are kind of dangerous, and I would be very aware and very fearful if one was around. I know I would be, and I don't know, I think you couldn't trust them very good. And if you're going to go out looking for one or something, I'd make sure you had a partner or something. But, yeah, they're just strange things that I can't really say what they are. I know we've seen them. They're out of the norm, that's for sure. That's for sure. And so, you just be careful in the night when you run across anything like that.
Connie, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing all those great experiences with us.
Well, I had fun.
Don't be a stranger, okay?
Okay, okie dokie.
Have a great night.
Thank you, Vic.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.